The first thing we're going to cover tonight, we're going to have a little brief discussion about what's going on in the Jehovah's Witness community, or basically what's been going on for like the last couple of decades. And if you can't guess, it has to do with sexual abuse, especially of children. I don't have a whole heck of a lot of details, but it seems that, if I can remember the name, Mark O'Donnell's, he, if I remember right, he has about 10,000 letters between the Watchtower and different congregations, different kingdom halls, of just letters that are talking about sins, ranging everywhere, from adultery to smoking marijuana to Kiddy Diddling, and it's pretty much just like the Catholic Church. So I don't want to go into super high detail, and honestly, I don't have a whole lot of detail, so I could probably give it all to you really quick. But again, I don't want to, because we don't need to just like we get it. We get that it's very much so like excuse me, like the Catholic Church. So the issue is right now that the top, which is Watchtower, they know about sexual abuses that are being done in these communities. And not only do they know, they don't tell the authorities, and they don't tell the members, like the brothers or whatever, like the brotherhood, I suppose, in these kingdom halls. This is what you should do. You should go to the authorities. No, because they have their own system of how to deal with this stuff, and it's shitty, basically. Is what it is. So much like the Catholic Church, it's keep it quiet. Okay, nope. Tell the family. Could you just keep it private? We'll deal with this within the church. And a lot of these people, like for example, one man who was unnamed, he allowed, it says in the letter, he allowed his stepdaughter to touch his penis. He allowed. So he did that, and then when the reporter tracked her down from the Atlantic, he found, well, now she's 40 years old. She was 8 at the time, and he molested her like multiple times, and it was just okay because he was the adult and she was young, and it took her 2 years before she could come out to her mother and say anything. Well, her mother went to the church about it, and the church wrote these letters to Watchtower because they, like, Jehovah's Witnesses are very good about communicating with each other, for the most part. And I guess the main thing that I want to get to for this example is that the man who did this, the stepfather, he was punished to the point of, let me see if I can find the exact quotation. He was eventually disfellowshipped for instances that involved fornication, drunkenness, and lying, according to other letters. But according to the stepdaughter, his alleged molestation of her resulted only in his being privately reproved. So basically, he just couldn't, he lost some privileges such as not being allowed to offer comments during Bible study, and he's not allowed to lead prayer.
Yep, that's it.
So, yeah, I think that's pretty ass backwards. Like myself, I'm like, if you like if you're lying and you're being a drunkard, maybe you shouldn't be giving all of your holy advice during prayer time or what the fuck ever. But when it comes to molestation, I feel like that's what you should be excommunicated for.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think. And like, also, I think I'm thinking small right now, but what's your thoughts on this, Christy?
Makes me very, very frustrated.
Tell me how you really feel.
I've heard this time and time again with the Jehovah Witnesses. You know, shame on you for hurting children, ruining their life in some cases. You will not be able to lead the prayer. That's the least of it. You know, the whole, let's not go to authorities. Let's keep that in the house. Let's deal with it here, because we don't want the worldly people to think that we're a bunch of degenerates. I don't know why anyone would think that. Oh, yeah, it's frustrating. I'm glad that you brought this one to talk about, because it's happening now. It's not, even though this happened 40 years ago, or the woman's 40 now, it's still happening. This is their policy. If a child is hurt, that child needs 2 witnesses to come forward. And I don't know about you, but I can't think of a child molester that would do anything with witnesses that defeats the purpose of them.
Well, now I'm gonna have to push back on that just a little bit, because I read enough of that Pennsylvania report to know that it's just, let's get the whole little soccer team up here.
Yes.
Plenty of witnesses.
It's horrible.
It's a fuck-a-baloo.
I hope that people more and more, you know, we hear this, we read this. Many people on the outside, which Jehovah's Witnesses consider worldly people, hear this and read this. That's great. We need everybody to hear it, but we need the people in the congregation to hear this, not just read it, to hear it, to see what it's doing to people, to stand up for the people that have no voice, that didn't have 2 witnesses, to stand up for them and say no. In 2019, no. No to all of this. If you are hurt, we call the gosh darn cops. Period. Yeah. I can't imagine a mom being on the side of the church. You would have to be really brainwashed to look at your child and think, I know you're hurting, but did you have witnesses? Did you have 2 witnesses? Because if not, you know, go to your room and do your homework. I can't.
Yeah. See, now you talked about this being their policy, and I have it pulled up right now, pretty much in quotations from this article. Where to start? Okay, so in '97, the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society, the nonprofit organization that oversees the Jehovah's Witnesses, sent a letter to each of its 10,883 U.S. Congregations, and many to more congregations around the world. Scrolling down a little bit, they sent out this letter, basically giving the instructions on how to deal with a known predator. And it is as follows. And I don't have all 12 questions, but write a detailed report answering 12 questions. A few of them are, was this a one-time occurrence, or did the accused have a history of child molestation?
Jesus Christ.
How is the accused viewed within the community?
Because that totally matters.
Yes.
Wow.
Saving face.
Right.
Does anyone else know about the abuse?
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's huge.
If
no one knows, there's no reason to. Yeah, there's no reason to tell anybody. If no one knows, that's good.
Yeah. Um, and okay. So those are the three questions that I have right now, that is in that letter. But then you're supposed to mail it to Watchtower's headquarters in a special blue envelope. With blue envelopes, and that's not fair. I think blue
Not
envelopes
fair at all.
and
Not hashtag not all blue envelopes.
not all blue envelopes. It's really not fair to blue envelopes. I just wanted to put that out there. And then keep a copy of the report in your congregation's confidential file, just like the Catholic Church. The instructions continued, and do not share it with anyone. Keep it under fucking wraps, because that's always what it is. Because so I have an issue more and more, and I don't like to say this because I like secularism.
Right.
But we have a real issue with the separation of church and state, I think. Because if we can't even just go in and order these confidential documents that have this kind of harmful information. And I'm saying this because in this report, again, Congress has written the Watchtower ordering these documents. This is not new news. The new news right here from this specific report is that this man, Mark O'Donnell, has, again, I think it was like about 10,000 documents in a priority mailbox, which were stolen. Someone stole them. It wasn't him, as far as we know.
Right.
And they gave them to this guy. So he has this collection of letters to and from Watchtower. So all of these are stolen documents. But they fit all the other documents that we found. They fit other descriptions, because, as I said, Congress has ordered these congregations. They've ordered Watchtower release these documents to us.
Yes. And isn't it $4,000 a day?
Is what now?
Right now, until they provide the government with these documents, the American government is charging them $4,000 per day.
I actually hadn't heard of that. That's
Look
amazing.
that one up. That'll blow your mind, because it's been almost 2 years now of $4,000 per day.
Jesus.
This is why they are selling congregational areas. This is why they're selling kingdom halls and joining this congregation and this congregation into one so that they can sell this property. Yeah, $4,000 a day. I couldn't afford that. That is it's their drug problem. I mean, I don't know. Their drug problem is sneakiness and connivingness, and all to protect pedophiles, just to protect the dirtiest, nastiest of the people. I do not get it. It does not save face. You look bad. You look bad.
And I honestly still think that they don't get that. They don't even understand that this is wrong, because
they're being persecuted.
One, they're being persecuted. That's one, because always, right? Especially Jehovah's Witnesses, because they are so detached from the world. And I'm not trying to be mean to Jehovah's Witnesses.
Right. No, it's not the witnesses.
I am. Say what?
It's not the witnesses. It's the leadership. Right.
Right. Jehovah's Witnesses. Sorry, so much noise in the background. Jehovah's Witnesses are one of the most victimized Christian religious groups that there are. I mean, I think Mormons and Jehovah's Witnesses and some of the more extreme Baptist churches, they're so suppressed that it's just victimization. It's just thought control at that point. And that's what this is. This is thought control, not thought control. Two different things. but it's when they tell you, okay, keep it between us.
Yes.
We'll take care of
flag.
it. Red flag. Always red flag. When someone wants to keep anything between just you and them, at least be skeptical. At least be skeptical and push harder for them to make it right immediately, rather than them being like, oh, it'll be okay, and then someone loses prayer rights. Like, fuck off, right?
Women aren't even allowed to lead prayer in Jehovah's Witnesses. So think about that. Not that has anything to do with what we're talking about, but I just know they're not. They're not allowed to do that.
They're not allowed to like lead prayer at all.
Not when there's men. If they have a women's group, yes.
Okay.
Right.
And there's still a lot to learn about the Jehovah's Witnesses. Like, I'm speaking for myself right now. Like, there's a lot more that I can learn about them because it's just a labyrinth of rules and regulations and new light. There's a lot of mental gymnastics that goes on in that cult. It's important to point out before I move on that Nacho Witness, our producer, pointed this story out for us. And I was like, absolutely, I want to cover this. I've been wanting to cover it, and I hope at some point, and I should just say it on air that I really do want to do a video deep diving it into this kind of abuse with Nacho Witness on my own channel. So sometime we'll get into that when we both have time. But it's sick, and it's such a big topic that we can put a lot of effort into it.
Yes, or none, and still have a lot of stuff to cover.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure a lot of you know that's how I found my way into atheism, was losing a best friend to this cult. And so I learned so much about the history of Jehovah's Witnesses to current era, just out of fear of. And there's children involved, my godson and her other 3 children. And yeah, so I know more than I would like to know, but it has led me here. So I'll always have a weird place in my heart for Jehovah's Witnesses, if that makes any sense, for the people, not the doctrine, not the cults, not the founding fathers of their religion, or the bearded founding father where you're not allowed to have beards now. I mean, there's just so much craziness that I just, wrong show. But golly, it's a scary one. It really is, because it grinds into their head that all they need is jw.org for all of their questions. Don't Google anything you want to know about science, jw.org. Anything you want to know about biology or the space or anything, jw.org. That's terrifying. Yeah.
Yeah, there's it's too much. LEAH Podcast asks in the live chat, Nacho, Great Skeptic, and I would imagine also you, what suggestions would you have to reach those blindfolding themselves to all this on the inside of the congregations? It should be emphasized that they are a publishing company. Watchtower is. They are an oversized book club that controls these people's lives. Absolutely, they are. Like I said before, this is thought control. Very, very much so. If anyone has questions about me asserting that it's thought control, please just reach out and we can talk about it. Because I don't think it's really hard to point that out.
I can say what you shouldn't do, only out of personal experience. I was just learning that I needed to let all of my magical thinking go. At the same time I was learning about this cult my best friend was immersing her life in. She had just told me she couldn't have me in her life anymore because of my sinful lifestyle. And so the wrong way And I'm sure it's kind of a blanket statement that fits for all people in a cult. I hadn't learned street epistemology was even a thing. I hadn't learned questioning them was a thing. I took facts and hardcore evidence and shoved it in her face. And I pushed her away. I'll always regret that. That sucks. Sucks. I would do it totally different. So don't do that. Whatever you do, don't. Because it just made her get even more of her answers from jw.org. And I can't argue with a website that tells her things that are factual that aren't at all when they're telling her they are. And I have other information. To her, I'm the wrong one. I'm the one that's the devil's controlling. And it was frustrating, a very huge learning experience that I totally 100% wish I could do differently. So don't do that. Don't shove facts in their face. It's not going to help. And you won't be able to keep them as a friend, probably, which is what happened to me.
Right. And I know you're not the only person that's happened to. I know a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses, and like, luckily, like, I haven't really lost any friends over this, like my becoming an atheist. But it's something that happens far too much. I mean, this is why Jehovah's Witnesses are afraid to leave when they don't believe anymore, is because they lose everyone. When you go to the JW website, or you talk to anyone to for validation in that cult, they make it near infallible, like whatever they're giving you, like Christy being controlled by the devil. But how do you disprove that? Right? I mean, as soon as you grant the fact that they believe in the devil, there's not much you can do to prove that the devil's not controlling you. Because how would you prove that? Well, God would have to come down. Well, yeah, God would have to come down for a lot of fucking things, wouldn't he?
Well, one more thing, don't laugh when they say things like, Jesus has come back. He's just invisible. I know that sounds so funny, and it's so hard because we know for myself, it's been, almost 2 years now. So it just sounds completely ludicrous. Like, wait, what are you talking about? But when she said that, my immediate response was, bah! Like, what are you talking about? Which I'm sure just broke her heart. And I look back at it now and I just want to smack myself. What's wrong with you? But, she'd been my best friend, and I thought I could just say things how they were coming out. And I hadn't realized how much of a thing had happened in her head, how you turn off everything else. And like you said, they make it so that if you say no to this thought, this idea, you lose everything, because you are encouraged to only have friends in the congregation. You are encouraged. She married a man that she had known for just a few months because you can't live with somebody. You have to marry them. That's how much of a control they have on you. It will always be one of the biggest regrets, the way I handled that. And so I guess my biggest thing is try not to laugh, as crazy as it is, even if you know them. She's my best friend for 20 years. Like, I know her. Yeah. It's sad. They make your friends are in Jehovah's Witnesses, who you hang out with, who you have dinner with. Your house is expected to be spotless when people come over. They will, I could tell she had so much change. She had to go see a doctor even and get onto an Adderall medicine to keep up, to do the 90 hours or 70 hours a month, to do the 4 kids that she had, to do her full-time job, to clean her. There's just so much a human body can't keep up. It's just sick. Yeah. Jehovah's Witnesses has I read everything I find with the title, a JW anything, because of her. Maybe I'll get a chance to open her eyes someday. And I will do it so different. So different.
Yeah. And and a lot of what you said is just scratching the surface. One, And most of us who are watching this and a part of this right now, we know that. We know it's a labyrinth. But also, it's, as Christy said, number one, don't approach it like that, because that doesn't work for anything, right? And obviously, so many of us learned that the hard way.
The hard way.
Yeah, it's like, oh shit, that didn't work. Wish I practiced that on someone that I didn't care about.
Right.
Yeah. But it's I'm gonna read the question again.
Okay.
What suggestions would you have to reach those blindfolding themselves to all this on the inside of the congregations?
Yeah.
If you're speaking like to the community as a whole, there's not much we can do. We can just keep applying social pressure to better education, I think is like the best thing we can do. Like make it so obvious that like certain things are true that just pick at their religion enough. Like one thing for me was just like the Big Bang Theory, right? Or the Great Expansion. Better thing to say is the Great Expansion, right? And then learning how we know how far stars are because of like the speed of light and spectrometry. I can't say word.
It's a shitty word.
Spectrology. I don't know. And evolution. If we can bring science to the table and not just give it empty assertions, like you need to know how you know it instead of
evolution's a tough one though, Mac. They do not hold and I'm just speaking for the family that I know. Evolution is not a thing that happened. It is a lie that the devil, I mean, it is straight from the devil, straight from her mouth. Don't talk about it to my kids. Don't talk about it to me. It is of the devil. God did it, and that's it. And I wish I had been so much more educated. I wish I could just have that whole experience back to do it differently. Because I'm sure my answer to that was, are you kidding me? What? Evolution is taught in high school. Kids know this. How do you not know it? Did you not go? Like, I'm sure I sounded like an asshole. I'm sure I was yeah. I don't think that would be the way to get them. But I do think that everything that every Jehovah Witnesses, when I have a conversation with a Jehovah Witness, everything that they use in a conversation is from the Bible. So if I were to talk about, anything, they say, well, wait, let's see what the Bible says. Would be to use the Bible against them. Not against them, but, are you sure that's what it says? Because it also says this here. Because they're not taught to read it. They're told not to read it. They are told when they go to Kingdom Hall, today we'll be reading this scripture and this scripture. And the Watchtower is going to tell you how to feel about these two. And that's how you're going to feel about these two. And they never start at the beginning and go on. Right. There you go. So I think the best way would be for people like John Cedar. Oh gosh, he's brilliant. To use that, to say, are you sure it says that? Because it also says this. I was able to reach her when I did do stuff like that. When she told me, we don't use the Old Testament. We don't use that anymore. It's all about the New Testament. But then also told me that my sinful lifestyle was an abomination. I was smart enough to go, wait a minute, I just read the Old Testament. That's in the Old Testament. So do you not use the Old Testament, or do you use the Old Testament? And that took her back. She didn't have a comeback. I didn't know how else to go from there. We're talking about the beginning of all this for me. So I wish that I had more to offer her to say, well, you also eat shrimp. We just had shrimp for dinner. That's a sentence or two away from my being an abomination, is eating shellfish. But
mixed facts.
mixed fabrics, God, there's so many. Correcting them on their own Bible, exactly, Mark, to show them that, yes, you're being taught this, but that's not how it really was, and they're not encouraged education. So education would not be a way to go. They're encouraged actually to not have education. Higher learning to them is a waste of God's time. God put you here to learn one thing, and that's how to better serve the Watchtower or Jehovah, aka same thing. So education would not be, but the younger generations, while they're in school, that's why it's so important to have adequate public education and to teach children critical thinking. I know we say that so many times, over and over and over, but we say it over and over because it's not happening, and it's so imperative for the human race to evolve past this magical thinking, to realize that we are the answer to all of our own problems, to all of our own questions. It's up to us to make it better. It's up to us to do the right thing. No one's going to save us. There's no Cape Crusader coming to save any of us.
No.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I don't think so. So
I mean, unfortunately.
we definitely agree there.
Tights,
Right? I mean, like, and I have some tights.
You do. You look amazing in your tights.
Yeah. But I did want to point this out real quick. I got this about 2 weeks ago. Natja might recognize it.
Yes.
It's called Mankind's Search for God. Do you know what this is?
JW.
Yeah, it's the JW thingy. Yeah, he's like, yeah, I know that one. And basically it goes through, it's almost 400 pages, and it goes through how religion began, common threads and mythology, magic and spiritism, Hindu, Buddhism, Taoism, Shintoism, Judaism, Christianity, apostasy, Islam, and so on. And then finally, the 16th chapter, on page 366, The True God and Your Future. But it basically is just a textbook on what they think other religions believe. So when you go to door to door, you have a reference on how to talk to people about what's wrong about Buddhism, Taoism, or anything really. And it's cool. So one, yes, they cover their bases. But why I brought this up is because I was offered this book, and I was like, fuck yeah, I'll take it. I want that documentation. But also, I almost didn't take it because I wanted to bargain with him. I'm like, all right, hey, if I take this, can I give you something? Because at that point, he had finally asked me, "Are you religious?" And he had asked me a few years ago, and I still was. I was still pretty religious, but yeah. So I told him, no, I'm not. I'm not. I'm actually an atheist, and I didn't tell him to like what extent. I'm a super atheist. But maybe. But yeah, I wanted to like barter with him and be like, hey, can I give you this then, to kind of show you where I'm coming from and like what my thoughts are. And I was just going to give him a YouTube link to John Cedars. That's what I was going to do, because I think that's the best fucking thing you can do.
Yes.
Props to John Cedars. But he wouldn't have it. He wouldn't have anything. Like, I didn't even tell him what I wanted to give him yet. He's like, I don't want to seem like closed-minded or anything, but again, I don't want to seem closed-minded, but
let me close my mind.
Yeah, but that, yeah, but let me not. Yeah, I don't really do that. No, I don't read other stuff. At the same time, he's asking me what I know about other religions. I'm like, actually, I'm halfway through the Quran right now.
Yeah.
Like, given I've been halfway through the Quran for a month and a half. not good at like jumping back into
It's
anything.
boring though.
It is. It is.
It's
I'm
so
going to try to
boring.
listen to it more tonight, honestly. But see, I looked over and I noticed JW Kiddy Diddling. What's up?
Yeah, I know.
I wasn't looking at it. It caught me off guard. So we got off on a tangent for
Yeah.
sure. But I think it's been about 35 minutes. So we should probably move on from this topic. Do you have any more points?
We could go on and on and on about this topic. It is it reaches so many different things, so many facets. JW has managed to do what Koch brothers have done to the political world, just kind of put octopus arms out everywhere. And I mean, like you talked to that guy was scared. They're taught not to open their mind to anything, because if you let the devil have a little bit, he'll take you and make you worldly. And it sounds silly because we know it is, but I mean, it is for them life or death. It's terrifying. So.